Hey everybody, it's Miss Amy at the Grass Valley Library. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Random Acts of Science. Today we are going to explore an iced water balloon, and we're going to find out some cool properties about water while we're doing that. You're going to need a couple of things from home. You're going to need a balloon. A large size one is probably the best. A pair of scissors, just some regular table salt, just a couple tablespoons. You're going to need a spoon to get that salt on there, and then it's not required, but some food coloring is going to be really helpful to help us see what's going on inside this frozen water balloon. So this experiment has two parts to it. The first one you have to do in advance. You're going to need to take your balloon, fill it with water, tie it off, and put it in the freezer overnight. And when you take that out of the freezer, you're going to have a great ball of frozen ice. And this is what we're going to do the dissection on today. So part two is going to be adding some salt and food coloring to this and finding out what's going on inside this frozen ball of ice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is use the scissors to help us peel the balloon off of the ball of ice. So you can score it in any way you want, and it'll probably just come right off. You might need an adult to help you with that part. And then once you get that off of there, you're going to have this kind of crazy frozen ice ball that's full of cracks and fissures. So we're going to take a closer look at this. When you get down in there and you look closely at what's going on in this ice, you can see that the frozen water has made a lot of different patterns. I can see cracks and some fissures. I can see some bubbles, and it looks all pretty interesting. So we're going to make it a little bit more visible by adding food coloring. All right, so before we add the food coloring, we're going to add a little bit of salt. So what's happening with the salt is the salt helps lower the freezing temperature of water. So it's going to make it melt quite a bit faster. And because it is hard to see that ice or the salt on top of the ice, we're going to add some food coloring as well. I'm going to add some blue. You can add a number of colors if you want, but I'm going to start out with blue, and we're going to see what happens. Mine is looking a little bit like a brain right now, which is kind of gross, but also very cool. And I'm going to switch to that shorter camera, and we're going to get a closer look at this. So here you can kind of see where the food coloring has penetrated, where there's openings in the ice, and those dark spots are where the salt is. It's really bonding with the salt a little bit. We're going to let this sit for a little bit, and in a half an hour or so we're going to come back and check it again, maybe add some more food coloring, add some more salt, and see what we can find out at that point. So you go ahead and do the same thing. I'll be right back. I'm going to add some red food coloring this time, and a little bit more salt. See if we can speed up this reaction here. So here we go. All right, this thing is looking really ugly right now. It looks pretty cool. I can see where the salt is starting to melt things, and I can see where things are starting to seep inside. It's been about an hour. We're going to see what happens one more time when we add some more food coloring and some more salt. So I'm going to sprinkle this guy again. I'm going to try some yellow food coloring, see what happens. Really interesting. You can kind of see deep inside what's going on, and a lot of the formations on the top because of the salt. I hope you had as much fun as I did with that experiment, and that your block of ice looked equally weird and mystical. Please join me next time for the next episode of Random Acts of Science.